I'm starting the stream. Let's check it when it's online. Yeah, we are online. Hi everyone, welcome back to WebXR Meetup. Hopefully you'll join us soon and we'll start. Hi, we have 2 people. Yay.
Oh, cool.
Right on time.
Well, thanks. I should go for, thank you for hosting this again.
Well, thank you for continuing to work on this project. It's really cool.
Yeah. So I guess we were just talking about this beforehand. We were talking about what should we do today and what people would like to see. So I'm really open to all sorts of stuff. I thought it might be helpful to do a little review of what we had worked on before, and then kind of get people up to speed with where we're at now. And then that opens up a lot of doors to, choosing kind of which game we continue to work on, and then which components we play with.
I think that's a great place to start. Can you remind me the link, bit.ly link?
Oh yeah, good call. So I'm going to scroll to the very top, and we'll increase the zoom here. So it's bit.ly WebStreet.
Oh, WebStreet, okay.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe we'll go back in time a little bit and kind of share some of the work that we had done. Gosh, it was 2 sessions ago, so this is our 3rd streaming session together.
Yes.
So we had done a really basic introduction into A-frame, even starting at the very beginning of kind of a demo scene of what A-frame is. So we looked at the basic fundamentals of HTML. We went to the very basic A-frame scene. If you go to their website and you click on Hello WebVR, we took a look here and went into detail on how all this stuff works, looking at that glitch project and everything. What else did we do? So we remixed that. We looked at the inspector. So that was kind of the basic getting started. And then we went into a lot of detail of the 3D street component. So using this application that I had created to create a background or an environment for your VR scene that lets you create a streetscape, essentially. So we saw a couple different examples of that. Maybe we'll just take a quick look. So this was the basic visuals here, where you can use StreetMix to kind of create your custom environment and then create that 3D view. So that was like a foundation, if you will, that we used to then make some very basic demos. We made a couple different demos. One demo that we made, we'll open it up, was a presentation for, let me find the link.
A-frame in Street View. More people are joining us. Hi everyone. We are just going through what we have done in the previous sessions, and you can find the document link at bit.ly/webstreet. And the previous YouTube link is WebXR Meetup at bit.ly. Go ahead.
That's right. So while it's loading, this document that we're editing is just the same one that you can access, bit.ly/webstreet. So nothing special here. We're just doing the same thing that you can access as well. So everyone can load that and see all the links that we're doing. So this was the output of our first week. And actually, I need to switch my camera. Something's not working right here. Just a moment. Okay. Let's try this one. Okay. Here we go. So this project was the first session that we did, and we did a couple things. We used a component from Mapbox to create this streetscape view, and then we used a presentation component, and I'm pressing the right arrow key each time it does an animation, and that was part of the presentation component that we had worked on.
And this is the real San Francisco data. right?
Yeah, it is the real San Francisco data. This is the intersection at 17th and Folsom. And then we use the 3D street component to create two different versions of what that could look like. So you're seeing an example of one of those views now, and that's the current conditions. And then the special stuff that we had worked on was saying, hey, what could it look like if we had a protected bike lane? And we use the presentation component to change the camera position. And again, I'm just pressing the right arrow key each time you see the camera move. And that lets the user, the viewer, see these cute little vertical delineators that separate the bike lane. So that was our project that we finished on the first session. So I'll go back to our bit.ly document.
Also, I want to tell our viewers how important this is because you care about the safety of the San Francisco bikers. San Francisco has the highest death rate of pedestrians. That is because of the bikers in San Francisco. And it's vastly more than any other state. The closest is not even half, which is New York, I think.
Yeah, so it is a somewhat dangerous place to bike and also to be a pedestrian. So this was an experiment to play with different 3D tools to present potentially different visions of what the world could look like. And so here was a couple of the important parts of the code that we looked at. And that was right here, the street mix loader, which lets people take an existing street from the application called Street Mix and then load the 3D version of that. So that's a lot of what we did on the first stream. And then the last stream, that was about 2 weeks ago, we started looking at what sort of silly games could we make with the streetscape as the foundation or the background for our scenes. And we came up with a couple different ideas. We talked about Frogger, talked about an endless runner or Paperboy or an endless flyer. And what we ended up playing with was this concept of an endless flyer. In other words, having a helicopter that flew along the scene and gave the impression that it is continuing to fly endlessly. And so that's kind of where we left off last time. So I'll show a little bit of what we worked on, and then we can decide what should we do today. So
Yay.
We had played a little bit with an ocean that looked nice. So kind of giving some nature here. So as you can see, I'm just opening up the glitch links from the document and showing just all the stuff that we had worked on last time. So I'll open up both the code from some of these things, and then I'll also show the output of what it looked like. So this was one of the projects that we had learned about. We looked at the code and saw how it works. And then we essentially mashed these two things together. So we took that helicopter idea and we took the streetscape and we mashed them together into an endless flyer that has the streets with it. So let's take a look at what that looked like. There we go. And I'm not looking at the chat, but Go, I think, is. And if you all have any questions or ideas of what you'd like to do this time, we're totally open. So again, I'm just trying to bring us up to speed on what we'd worked on already. So one of the things we finished on the last episode is adding the helicopter to the streets. So we'll take a look at what that looks like right now. So this was a more advanced model. And we had gone over some pretty interesting lighting stuff, like using the HDR skybox to actually influence the lighting of the scene. As you can see, kind of the way the helicopter is shaded, adding a little bit of fog and this stuff. So that's kind of where we left off. And then, the last thing we did was adding a robot or a character to the scene that's not just a helicopter. And we did a little bit of practice on getting an object from Sketchfab and optimizing that object for download speed so that it isn't super huge when we load it. And so I think this was kind of where we left off last time. Let's take a look at our robot runner. So this is very similar to the helicopter, but we basically just got rid of the helicopter, and instead we had our little robot. And we have a specific kind of street scene that we had made just for this robot. And we made it so that it has a little lane of its own and doesn't run into the cars. And then we were going to do one more thing at the very end. I don't think we had time for this, and that is creating a little bit of an effect of an 8-bit style Nintendo game. And so there's a little trick you can use to take that same image that we just saw and make it look a little bit more like an old school game. And there's two tricks that we used to make that happen. One was styling the canvas. And as a review, A-frame, when it renders the output using Three.js, it creates a canvas element. And that's basically just a space where it can write all the imagery to. Yeah. And what we're telling it basically is we don't want it to smooth it out. We want it to look pixelated. And then we also limited the height and the width of the canvas so that it gives us that nice pixelated effect. So when we combine those two things together, you essentially see a low resolution of the robot runner.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like an artistic style thing. You can zoom in and out and come up with whatever ideas you have for positioning the camera, but it adds another layer of creativity, I think, for folks that want to embrace the low poly, sort of pixelated view. And it's a really easy trick.
Is it giving some performance advantage, or is it adding on top of?
Probably yes, actually. Mm-hmm. It's probably a big performance advantage. Yeah,
because you don't have to render a very detailed model. Yeah. Also want to say hi to my friend Faizan here. He requested this hour that will work for their time zone. Glad to see you. And just wanted to remind everyone, all of the links that you on Glitch, you can remix them. So it's kind of like forking, taking a copy, and then you can make it your own.
Yeah, so the one that we were just looking at was this pixelated robot. So I'll just put it on the same line when we add kind of that pixelation effect. So when you open it in Glitch, if you're not an editor of the original like me, there's an option here just to remix the project. And then you can do whatever you want with it. You can change it, add new objects to it, try different settings for the resolution. See what happens if you make it even more pixelated or less pixelated. Other elements that you can use to change the kind of the scene would be the camera right here. So this is another line that really gives you control on what that initial position is of the camera. And right now it's purposefully placed on the side. That's the one, the initial position. So it's purposely placed kind of on the side of the robot, and it's looking at the robot to give that side-looking view. But you can play with all sorts of different viewpoints and positions.
I'm curious about the performance. So can you open up the developer tools and maybe we can lower the resolution versus not pixelated
so
version?
Right now this is 60 frames a second.
Awesome.
We can see that, and that's a good thing that you asked about. So that's the stats component here. That's another A-frame feature on the scene element. So just by adding stats, it will show you this in the upper left-hand corner. Mm-hmm. And when we were doing this last time, a couple of things we were looking at were the number of draw calls. Right now it's around 100 with this camera angle, but you'll notice that if I move it around, it does start to increase a lot. Now what's interesting is that before, this sort of view would not do very well, it would kind of crash, but it seems like it does do better when it's a very low resolution.
Yeah.
Like it's able to handle more of those draw calls without immediately crashing.
Yeah.
Like it did before.
The reason I was curious is because if it was done on the fly, that might even add to the performance hit and, make it even slower. But yeah, I wasn't sure if it is adding or subtracting from the performance.
Yeah, my guess is that it actually helps performance because you're really constraining the number of pixels that are written to the canvas.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the canvas width and height is okay. Got it. Great.
It's actually limited.
Can you hire the focus zoom of your Glitch, please?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries.
That way we can see a little bit better. So right now this is 256 by 256 is the maximum, so it kind of sets the limit. And I believe it might even be less than that depending upon the aspect ratio, since this is like a rectangle. That might say that it's 256 wide, and it's probably fewer on the height. That's what's actually used.
Cool.
One little thing to also understand about the way that A-frame works is that all of the settings that are put into this renderer component on the scene tag are set once, and you can't change them again. So during the scene, right? So as soon as it's loaded, these things are kind of fixed in place. That's one little gotcha. But I don't think it's likely that people are going to be changing the size of the canvas that often when their application starts. So that brings us to today. So we took a look at some of the basic A-frame scene stuff. We took a look at the street component and how you use street mix to create a little backgrounds. And then we also looked at a couple different animated scenes that we had created that all use the same concept of this endless runner. So moving the camera, I'm sorry, actually, the key trick here is that the camera doesn't move and the character doesn't move, but instead we're moving the ground underneath them as a little trick, but it seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
So that brings us to today. And really, I was curious to get feedback from Aishagul and the rest of the community on what we wanted to focus on. We have a couple suggestions. So just to start that off, some suggestions would be around movement of the character and or us as the camera or the user. Some game elements that we would need if we want to make this a more polished game with some sort of goal and purpose would be collision detection and some sort of scorekeeping. And something we had talked about before was looking at more in VR movements and interactions. And there's a new component for this that someone just released that I was curious to try. And what we did for today was actually hook up my Oculus Quest 2 in a way that you all can see the output of that too. So we can kind of make changes and edit that as we go along.
I just noticed your A-frame t-shirt.
Yeah, this is actually something, it was the Augmented World Expo. That's what it's from. But it looks very similar to the A-frame shirts that Diego and his friend Vice had been making.
Yes. So everyone, we assume that you seen the previous ones, but if you haven't, feel free to ask questions. And we are doing this for you, so we want you to not get lost. Not sure, not sure how feasible, but it will be interesting to see how simple game with A-frame and AR as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what would be different? So if we are going to do this for AR, definitely it's a good thing that the camera is the person. So that's number one thing. But if we do the VR parts today, we can just give it a try to the AR part. But how the game will work, I'm not sure. Because, like, how would you be running, for example? Let's say if it's a endless runner or Frogger.
That's a good question. And I actually saw another endless runner project as I was doing research for today that had a really interesting suggestion on how to use the camera itself as a control mechanism. So I thought I might show that. And this was a really nice one. So I read this earlier today, and it looks like it's by a guy named Alvin. I don't see his last name. It was really cool. So I'm going to scroll down really fast so I just show the part that was relevant. Let's see. Okay, so I'll show you the code, and then I'll show you kind of how this affects the scene. So this person came up with the idea of controlling the character in their endless runner game by using the rotation of the camera to decide where the character should be. So if we scroll up a little bit, I think there's an animated GIF here. So the idea is, as this person moves the camera left or right, it's a little hard to see, so I'll show the large preview that they made. This is kind of an early version where they have it logging to the console, and they're using the camera position to determine, okay, are they looking somewhat toward the middle? Are they looking toward the right? Are they looking toward the left? And then using that as a way to control the character's position. So that was pretty creative.
Yeah, so the forward movement is consistent, like they have a
Hmm.
certain speed. I got it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Yeah, that sounds pretty good actually.
Yep.
Um, Otherwise, I mean,
Yes.
I can play by just running outside and running on the street, and but not
Right.
many people can follow. We have a
And
question from Faizan. We use
yeah.
A-Frame to build WebXR apps. Can that application be deployed, viewed on HoloLens? Yes, but as always, there's a but. So there is Firefox Reality available on HoloLens, but since Firefox is not continuing with Firefox Reality work, they're just maintaining it, but they're not adding new features. So you don't have things like hand interaction. Although there was a version of Firefox Reality that had hand interaction that you can use, but so basically it's not maintained. Edge, on the other hand, is implementing the WebXR capabilities for HoloLens. It will be ready by the end of the year, hopefully. So we will have the capabilities on Edge. So whatever you build will be available on HoloLens directly because it's a website that you go to, and WebXR is available on the browser. Another
So were you
way,
saying that the
go
hand
ahead.
controls would be available later this year for Edge on HoloLens? Is that what
So
you're saying?
WebXR is not available on Edge at the
Not yet. But
moment.
you're saying that's the WebXR itself will be available later this year
For Edge on
on
HoloLens.
for Edge on
Hmm.
HoloLens.
There is,
And is that for 1 and 2, or is everyone using HoloLens 2 these days? I'm not that
um,
up to speed with.
I think once they do it, they can deploy it to both. I think most people are focused on HoloLens 2 at the moment. Um,
That's
and
exciting. So that's like the first party default browser then for HoloLens that will have
mhm,
support.
mhm.
That's
Uh,
really cool.
Firefox had it much earlier, and Firefox is available, but they are not adding new features. And one of the new features is hand interaction. So you are able to see, and I have some videos on my YouTube WebXR channel, I think, that I can show you that has the hand
Yeah.
interaction on HoloLens, which was fun. Um, but unfortunately, they stopped supporting
Yeah.
WebXR. The other way to deploy something that uses WebXR in a way is to use Babylon React Native library, which allows you to deploy directly as a native app, and it uses some of the WebXR capabilities. If that's not available, it uses the native APIs, basically. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that was also an option from Babylon.
Yeah.
So that allows you to kind of use the same structure of your code and all that for a Babylon web scene and then render it to a native application.
Basically, you're still using your Babylon.JS library, and on top of it, you have some extra capabilities. But I haven't done it myself with the React Native versus normal React. I heard that there's a lot to do. It's not exactly very simple to do it once and then use it in both places.
I see. So not super simple to write once and have it work everywhere,
Yeah,
but it can be an option.
yeah, which would have been really ideal. Okay,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Well, maybe we could start by taking one of the scenes that we had created and then adding some of the VR movement controls to it,
Mm-hmm.
seeing how well that works. Could be kind
Yeah.
of a first step. So why don't we start with in VR experience movement. And we'll take a look at this library. And I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. Jur, but I think it's a he, and he had been working on a couple different examples. And so maybe this is a good time to try out streaming the headset and seeing how well that works.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the example that they created here. And I'll also show a little handy link that I've been using to send things to my Quest headset. and that is Hmd.link. I don't know if you've seen this before, but it makes it really easy so you don't have to type in all these really long web addresses. So I copied this example. I'm just doing a copy and paste of this URL. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add the link. And this uses just my local area network and makes that same link available. And so let's also take a second to show you what we did to get the Quest streaming working.
Yes, please. That is an important detail.
Yeah, so let me paste that link first. Let me close some of the other windows that we're not using. Okay, so we'll say, let's try this out. And then first, how do we stream the headset? So I found this nice little guide. There's also a Medium article that goes along with it somewhere, but this is the code that you need. And in theory, it can work with wireless, but I'm actually using this big, long Oculus Link cable. It's a nice USB-C cable that is rated somehow to be VR approved, but it does seem to work really well, and it doesn't give me some issues I've had with other USB-C cables. And so there's a couple of things that you need to do, and I already did some of these steps. So I installed the Android platform tools on my Mac OS X, sorry, yeah, my Mac OS computer. They don't call it OS X anymore, it's Mac OS. And then I also installed this tool that we're going to use. I don't know what it means, but SCRCPY is this magic streaming tool. And then, so that's kind of the prerequisite. I set that up earlier this week. In order to stream each time, you want to make sure that the device is set up. So right now, this is important. It says it's unauthorized. As soon as I type this in, when I put on the headset, what I'm seeing right now, and I can't stream this part, is allow USB debugging. So the other step is that you have to make sure you have the developer mode enabled in the Oculus app, and I've already done that as well. So I'm going to click allow, and also always allow from this computer, so it won't show it again. So I've done that. So if I rerun this command, and we'll increase the zoom here, sorry. Instead of saying unauthorized, now it just says device. And that's its very user-friendly way of saying it's ready to stream. And then we run this application. So let's run it, and let's see what happens. And it pops open a window. I'll bring it over here. Now it looks blank because I don't have the headset on. So let me put it on. And it takes a second, but hopefully then we'll all see the same thing. I'll take one more moment. Now, what we should be seeing, awesome. So you're seeing it too. I can see it out of the corner. What you are seeing is actually my whole scene. At first it wasn't working, and I wanted to give people another little tip here. If you are using the pass-through virtual environment, you can't see my menu, can you? Oh, you can, yep. I really like seeing the pass-through environment so I can see what's in my room around me. But if you choose this option, it doesn't stream anything because the Quest actually has some pretty good privacy controls to prevent you from mistakenly recording or streaming your home environment. So this, if I clicked this, it would go black all of a sudden. So that's why I've chosen this little desert scene as the background so you can kind of see what we're working on. So we'll go back to our browser, and I'm going to type in HMD, and I already had this handy, Hmd.link. And if it works well, great. See, this is the example that I copied and pasted on the desktop, and I can just click it. And we see the super basic example. And as a reminder, when you're in this browser view to go into immersive mode with A-frame, there's a little VR icon in the corner. So we'll click that. And it gives us a warning saying, are you sure you want to allow that? And we do. We'll click allow. And here we are. So we see, let's see, there's two controllers. Nothing's happening with that controller. Let's see what happens with this controller. Okay, it's kind of working. So when I press the analog stick to the right, it rotates, looks like about 45 degrees, just judging by the angle of the, oh, okay. And then there is I saw that pop up for a second.
Blue Egg says he's using the Oculus.com casting to cast from Quest 2 to browser. Have you tried that, Kieran? Thanks.
I have not. That's a good idea. Actually, so I did try. So I can't get the teleport thing to show up. It showed up for like 1 second. I'm just trying to press all the different buttons.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
You did.
for a second.
Yep.
How does that work? So I guess I press in. Oh, I'm pressing forward. Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. So I hold forward. Ah, okay. Oh, nifty. Okay, so I'm holding forward, and then I can turn using the analog stick to select where my viewpoint's going to be when I let go. That's pretty nifty. So back to the question real quick on the streaming sagas. So my glasses are fogging up. So I did try using the built-in cast feature. And that does work if I cast it to a real Chromecast device. But what did not work is it did not work on my desktop. And I tried this application called, find it, Reflector. Yeah. And I've used this for other things outside of VR. And Reflector is this nifty thing that lets you turn your computer into an AirPlay or a Chromecast receiver. So I thought, oh, this would work great. I can use my computer to receive the casting from the Quest. But I couldn't get it to work. It just didn't click for me. In fact, I eventually, I don't know if I have this in my history here.
Blue Egg 20 says it worked okay for him or her.
Oh, that's cool. I actually just put in a little suggestion here on the user voice feedback for Oculus, because I couldn't get that one to work. But that would be much easier. And the nice part of it, if you can make that work, you should try it. First of all, it's a free demo, so you can just try using this, and it's free for 7 days. So you can see if it works with your configuration. It could have been something to do with my network. I don't know. So if it works, then fantastic. And the other nice thing about that is that obviously it's wireless, and you don't need to put your device into developer mode. So if something like this works for you, awesome. And again, I like using it when I do VR stuff with friends and family, when we'll just use the Chromecast connected to our TV, and that works really nicely. So this version using the SCR-CPY, it works, but it is a little bit more laborious to get that all set up.
Blue Egg 20 says it stands for screen copy.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
That makes sense. Now we know.
Yeah, screen copy. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about how do we get the stream into the headset, and we showed that. And then we were going to try out this example component. It took me a second to understand that you're supposed to use the forward analog stick, because I was just assuming I would be able to like click with one of the buttons, but maybe that's an option. Let's see. It is an option. So let's take a look then maybe at the code for this one. So I'm going to right click this one. See if we can just, let's look at the source. I'll make it bigger. So using blink controls, and then where do they put that? Okay, they put that on the left hand. That makes sense. And then they just use the default settings for blink controls in this example that we were just looking at. Okay. And I guess the default value is there is no button that launches the teleport. Instead, it's using the analog stick. So it looks like something we could change and play with in a little bit when we add this to the project that we control. But for now, maybe we can try the more advanced example that they have. This is a mesh collision example. That sounds cool. Let's try it out. So I'm going to copy this back to our handy dandy HMD link. Let's add that link. Paste in the link. And then I will put on the headset and bring that window back up so you all can see it.
Blue Egg 28 was saying the Oculus casting requires you to sign in with your Facebook user, and that's one of my grievances about using Oculus too.
That's right. Yeah, all the sharing features, they do require that, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's load the more advanced version example. That's cool. So I'm going to then click on VR mode. Okay, so, well, maybe it's on the left hand like before. Okay, so I'm pressing the forward analog stick, and then, oh, there we go. And then I can also use the analog stick to go right or left. I see. Okay, so this is almost like a game here, like a platforming game, because I can aim this little shooter thing here and jump. So now I am up, and I guess we're going to see, can we go all the way to the top? Oh, here we go. We'll go up here next.
Huh.
Oh, there we go.
Cool. You have a new perspective.
Yeah, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So this already is an interesting experience. You could imagine like Mario style adding coins or other like objects that you want to pick up. I'm having a hard time figuring out how do we get. Let's try going here.
Yeah, that seems really
yeah, it's hard to get up.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're making progress.
Maybe you're trying to take really big steps, Kieran.
Yeah, that's right.
One step at a
I just
time.
fell down again. Okay. I don't know how exciting this is for people to watch me do this, but it's a cool component, actually. It's a really creative way to move around the scene.
I'm curious what kind of devices most people are working from.
I'm so close. Oh, yeah. Oh, I fell down. Oh, that's cool. This is a neat one. I like the mechanics of this. Let's try the next example that they have too.
Oh, MB could also pasted the link for developer Oculus Developer Hub for Mac.
Oh, like how to get to the developer settings? Is that what they're asking?
This is, casting the window also, not just the whole hub is for developers, whatever you could share or debug probably too.
Sure, let's take a look at what we had linked here. So what I had posted was this gist link, I think that's how you pronounce it. And they do gloss over developer modes. Let's take a look at Oculus Developer Mode. There we go. Yeah, this is it. It is a little involved. You do have to create an organization, which is something that's also tied to your account.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is part of so this mode also requires some sort of Facebook and Oculus like authentication. So we'll add, so this would be like the streaming instructions here, but then the prerequisite would be enabling developer mode in Oculus Quest. Yeah, hopefully that was the answer to the question that people are looking for.
Yeah, I will add the link for the hub to Developer Hub.
Oh, thank you. Okay. That's helpful too. Okay, and then I was going to try the last example of this teleport component. Another feature of this Hmd.link thing is that you can press the bomb to blow up your previous link. There's only one link at a time, which is nice because it makes it pretty simple. So I'll add the link to the terrain. This is the third of the examples for the component. Okay, and I'm going to exit immersive mode, go back to Hmd.link, and then we should see the third example, yep, the terrain example. And what's unique about this, and I think the reason why they're showing it, is that it is a curved, uneven surface, and it's using the mesh to determine what is teleportable. So let's use this again. I'm pressing the forward button.
We don't.
It's a little lower.
We don't see your screen anymore.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. I'm sorry. Let's go over here.
Oh, okay, cool.
How about now?
Yes.
They did a good job with the shadows on these things.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really nice.
It looks very soft.
So I do notice it's a little bit lower frame rate. This is a much easier scene to teleport from part to part.
I think different levels close to each other is really tough. And it seems like going up is tough. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I keep like at the last second, I think I'm letting go on the ground instead. Go. We would go higher. Let's just go a little bit. There we go. Oh, there we go. I think we can make it.
It sounds like, I mean, it looks like there's a snapping behavior that we should be able to adjust.
I felt that again. Yeah. So this is cool. This is really nicely done. So this would make a really nice component for moving around our VR scene.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so maybe we can add this one to one of our existing scenes. So I'm going to switch again. I'm going to go to the GitHub page for this with the documentation. I see it's a nice little logo they made for this, Blink. And they had modified the teleport controls, I see. Okay. Okay. And then let's look at one of our older glitch projects to decide which one we want to play with here. What we could do is use one of them with the flying, but then turn off the the flying part so we're not moving around too much. Which one should we do? We could do this one. This was a simple example.
Can we stop running?
Exactly. Yeah, let's turn the running off. So I'm going to remix this one.
Because helicopter standing in place is a little odd, although it is possible.
Yeah. So this one, let's create a new name for this. We can call this maybe Street VR Experiment Playground. Okay. And then, so let's take a look and remind us what the scene looks like. Okay, so this is the one where it's moving around. So there's a couple things that I'm already going to change right away because of performance issues, and that is we don't have the luxury of having this many streets. So I'm actually going to comment out all except for one. And the other thing that I'll turn off for a moment is the animation, just so we don't feel too sick. So I'm going to just misspell the word animation like that, and that should turn it off. Oh, it must be lowercase. Do this. And then that should just make it static at that point. Perfect. Okay. And then let's just try seeing what this looks like in VR mode. So I'm going to copy this one over to our Hmd.link. Once we do it one time, we can just refresh the scene.
That's really cool.
Okay. Now I'm going to open the same one up on the headset. Oh, I'll tab over so you all can see the same thing. Okay, I am seeing a black screen, like the headset turned off.
We see green, which is interesting.
Oh, weird. Yep. Okay, there we go. So it had just timed out for a moment. I should change the sleep.
Yeah.
Sleeping too much. Well, maybe it froze.
Yeah, maybe you are an ant on the floor or grass.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm literally seeing nothing right now.
Yeah, we do
I
as
have
well.
to restart the headset. Oh. Is there like a Control-Alt-Delete equivalent? There we go. Okay, power off. I don't want to power off. I just want you to go back to the main menu.
Oh, okay, we do see it now.
Awesome. Okay. It was getting really confused there. So one of the issues we had before was performance. So I'm curious to see how well this will or will not perform when we get everything loaded. This is a pretty heavy scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's already having problems. Although, actually, this is working quite well.
Oh, nice.
I'm inside of the trolley, which is kind of weird. Let's see. Okay, that's not bad. So now we should add our teleport controls because I can't really move around much more than I can walk. But that's working pretty well. How does it look on the view? Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. For
That's a
those of
lot
you,
better than I expected.
yeah. For those of
Yeah.
you who doesn't know, in San Francisco, we have trolleys from all around the world that are historic, and they look very different from each other, and it's really fun to ride one. And he was
Yeah,
just in one of them.
and they just shut them down for COVID, which doesn't really make sense because they're open air. So of all of the vehicles that the Muni service operates, I think it's
That's true.
one of the safest, one of the most COVID compliant ones they have. But,
Although I
okay.
can see it's not price efficient because they're very small and you can just take maybe 4 or 5 people.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what I just did, I just copied the link to the JavaScript file that has the teleport component. So I'm going to add that here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to rip something out that we don't need right now. I'm going to take out the orbit controls, which are intended for not VR mode, if you will. So I'm going to remove the orbit controls. I've added the blink controls, and that just is the script settings. Again, that's kind of the head part of our HTML document. While I'm thinking about it, I'm also going to remove the orbit controls from the entity that has the camera. So let's take that out. Okay, so if I go back, it should just put the camera, yeah, it's putting the camera just a little bit lower than the ground for some reason.
I wonder
And this
if
is the
you,
reason why.
yeah.
This is why.
I wonder if
I wonder
you
if I did
left
that.
it there, the orbit controls, it would turn itself off because the mode is VR.
It does. I think you're right. It actually doesn't conflict, but
It might be
just to
still
keep the
loading.
code a little simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would still be loading. Okay, so now we should start the camera. Okay, so this is reflecting exactly what we saw in VR mode. We're kind of we're spawned into the streetcar. So the next thing, we added the script to load the VR blink controls or the teleport controls, but now we need to add that to one of the controllers. And I don't think we even have hand controls yet. So let's take a look. And actually, this is a good thing to learn about. So we may have mentioned this before when you're moving the camera. It's good to have a rig. So I'm just going to copy all of this that this person put as the example. And it's a great way to do this. So let's look for the camera here. I'm actually going to replace these two lines completely with the camera rig. And just ask glitch to nicely format that, which we just did. Okay. So let's take a look at what that does in desktop mode. One thing you kind of get for free because we put that there is the WASD controls, so I can move around in desktop mode. And then look controls, and then we are using the blink controls here. So I'm going to open this again in the headset. I'm just going to reload that screen, and let's see how that works.
And while you're doing that, we have approximately 10 minutes left, and we would like to get your suggestions for what to add to this next, or what other things that you would like to see. So, shoot your questions. This is a good time to do it, or suggestions. Faizan knows how to reach me at any time, but for those of you who doesn't.
Oh, hi, Avery. Hey, you want to say hi to everyone? No, okay. Okay. Again, it takes a couple seconds to reload it out of sleep mode. So next time I do one of these things, I should, Guardian not found. I should change the sleep settings so it doesn't fall asleep after like 1 minute. Okay. Confirm the floor. I'll make the little Guardian area. Oh my goodness, okay.
Michael Prosoria, I hope I'm saying it right. I have a dev experience question. In contrast with Unity dev, why is coding with markup attractive? That's a great question. One thing I can tell, Unity development, deploying it and debugging it takes a long time, and it's really heavy on your computer. With this, as you can see, Kieran doesn't even have to deploy any code directly to the Oculus. He's just opening up a web page, which is...
Yeah, I just reloaded it. That's all I did.
Yeah. And that has nothing to do with the markup language. It's WebXR. Having things on the web is much, much faster as far as development experience. But other than that, I think A-frame was first thought of and designed for people who are not used to coding that much, so they could just take the components themselves and then add some properties to it and work that way. So basically, a designer or someone who's kind of familiar with HTML can take different components and create some scene, which is a cool thing. And
so
Unity...
see what you're doing. So my daughter is trying this out too. Oh, the strap is in front of me. What do you think? You like it? Where did you go? We just lost the scene.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. What do you see? You see planes? You see a helicopter. Okay. I'm not sure why it keeps going in and out of broadcasting. I wonder if the cable is getting loose. Can you see it, Avery? You do see it. Let me just double check. I think it's because you were going outside the Guardian zone, and then it shows your pass-through view, and then it stops streaming if you go outside the Guardian.
Huh.
Come this way if you want to try again.
So
You don't want to be in front of the train? Oh, well, good news. We can move around now by teleporting. Do you want to move around? Yeah. Okay. So we'll move. Let's see. Where does this go?
So BlueEgg28 says, I'm a big fan of Unity to building thick client apps experiences where it's okay to expect users to install your builds to experience them. Maybe
Can we go on the sidewalk?
Change with WebGL support, but not sure about VR support. One other thing about building with Unity, Unity is a great tool, but is also you have to oblige with the store rules, like you have to deploy it to Apple Store or Microsoft Store, and when that happens, as we saw with a few big companies, they are in charge and they can take down your game or application anytime, which is not the case for web. If you have a website, if it's on and it's in your control, which is the good thing. Lastly, one last thing about web is that most of the time, I can't say this for A-frame, but most of the time, like the WebXR APIs are backward compatible. And we don't break those APIs, although we did break WebVR APIs, of course, to change it to WebXR. But so when you build something and deploy it, it will stay and it will work. With Unity, you have to have multiple versions of Unity
Okay.
to deploy, and that has been painful for me personally.
We were in the building a long time.
Oh, you want to go in the buildings?
Yeah.
We can try.
We
A
have
long
a
time
new
ago.
presenter.
Yes, Avery has lots of requests. Well, why don't you put the headset on, and then I can teleport us into the buildings. So I really like the effects of the HDR lighting component when you're in VR mode. This is the first time I had tried that in VR mode. After we added it to the project 1 or 2 episodes ago. And it really adds an amazing effect when you look at the sunset. Now, Avery, you're inside the store. So why don't you look out? Can you look out at the sunset? So you
That's
can
so
see
nice.
that, like, yeah, it like adds all the lighting effects to the street. It kind of bleeds into the floor of the store here, but we hadn't even intended for these to be interior models, but it seems to work nicely. Very nice.
It is very nice.
You can see how the light is very bright here coming from the sun side. Oh, you're going, oh, stop. You're going to go down the stairs. Okay.
I wonder what would happen if she goes down the stairs. Heaven and hell concepts we need to explain.
You like just to sit there and look at the sunset? Yeah.
That's nice. It works out of the box pretty well. And I'm assuming that we don't have a collision since you were able to go into the building.
Yeah, it's all just, I guess it uses the, in fact, while I'm going to show 2 more things that are really helpful little tricks here. So I'm going to end our session with the screen copy. And I had a couple already pre-made, and this is also in the gist, where it can crop a little bit, so you just see one eye, since it, for someone on a, oh, can you move forward a little bit? Yeah. And get out of the building?
Yeah, and go into a new building.
And go into a new building. Okay, just a moment. Let's get this sharing again. Okay, so it thinks that we're too close to the border. Can you stand right here? So I do remember there's a setting that allows you to disable Guardian for developer mode. I think that would be very helpful. Okay, so you want to go to a new building.
Jen is asking if some of the items can be grabbed with the controller.
It would be possible.
Yeah, but
not with the code that we have right at this moment. Are you in a new building now? Yep. Well, this one, there's no windows, but you can see the light is still being affected by the... It's a garage. Yeah, it does look like a garage. You don't want to be in the garage.
That's a smart choice.
It's funny, like, I thought that this was such a simple scene because I've been working on this for a long time, but there's so many different elements that Avery is bringing up. Like, we're in a garage.
Yes.
People are rightly asking, like, let's pick things up and make the scene more interactive.
Yeah. It would be cool to be able to open the doors.
Yeah.
And
that's right. And like prevent people from going inside of them if they didn't open it or something.
Yeah. Do you know if there is any component for hand interaction for A-frame?
Mm-hmm. One of the classic favorites of folks was super hands. Let's take a look at this. And I just heard on Slack over the weekend that it is still up to date. Like, it still works. Yeah, and in fact, they've been updating the build as recently as a few days ago. So super hands is a collection of components all wrapped into one that lets you pick things up with laser controls or just grab them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can see this animated GIF here.
But,
and it also lets you do things like scale them. So like using your 2 hands to make them bigger or smaller.
But it's not actual hand control, is it? Just it's still using the controllers.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about like hands, controls.
Yeah.
That is something that people have been experimenting with, but I haven't seen something that's like super production ready. And I think that it's still behind a flag in the Oculus browser. So it's not accessible by default. But I have seen a number of people playing with it. there's something else I was showing. Oh, just as a note, what I had done here when I reloaded the screen copy is that you can specify, I want to see just one of the views, kind of by choosing what the dimensions are. And so in that gist that is linked in the document, people have suggestions of different ways to do it. So in this view, it's kind of zooming in a little bit so you don't see that the weird distortion effects of some of the lens. And it's showing just one of the eyes, since when you're in 2D view, it kind of looks almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go in the house and not the garage.
You want to go in the house, but not the garage and not the store. Well, the house doesn't have much in it. It's the same as the garage. It just looks the same. You want to see it? Yeah. Okay. Let me zoom into it.
Also, we are running out of time. Just wanted to tell everyone, if there's anything specific you would like to see, please let us know from the WebXR Meetup group. Or I recently created a WebXR LinkedIn group. Then you can join to that. It's a public group. And let us know what you would like to see. There's nothing there yet, but...
Well, that's cool. Well, yeah, Avery, you can't really go in there. I'll go into another room. How about that? Try this. This one.
Thank you for being our presenter. She's not hearing
Avery,
us,
thank you for helping show us all the different things we can do with this. What should we do next, Avery? What's another thing we should add to this?
I don't know.
You don't know? It does seem like you like going inside the buildings.
Yeah.
So that could be something to add more things inside. Yeah. One thing I wanted to show too on the blink controls, this was the default behavior that I saw. The forward thumbstick axis is what activates teleport. But I can also add some additional settings, like we could say adding button trigger. That's actually what I would like to do. Let's try that.
Oh.
And then for the collisions, let's see. Interesting.
When you have that, I have a dad joke. Well, MB Cool has a dad joke.
Oh yeah, dad joke. Yeah.
Why did my shark attack scene take so long to load? Too many bytes. I love it. Thank you. It's not only a dad joke, it's also an engineering joke. I love it.
It is good. It's a good double. Yes?
Why are there no windows in that?
Why are there no windows? That building didn't have windows that came with it.
Windows are expensive.
Let me reload this thing.
For the question, where would you like us to comment? You can do that on the WebXR Meetup page. We do have a I think, poll there too. Or you can directly message us on Twitter. Faizan finds me on Instagram most of the time. And you can find me at AYS something from Twitter or Instagram. And what was yours, Kieran?
Just KFARR is my username on Twitter. And the one thing we just changed, and it works really well, is that we added the button to be a trigger to teleport, as well as the default that came with it. So that I find that to be a lot more convenient and very simple. Mm-hmm. So I'm just pressing the trigger, I let go, boom.
You're there. Okay.
This is a really nice component. I'm really impressed by what they did with this.
Yeah. And give it a try and see how it is and what we can fix, what we can add to this example.
Yeah, and I'll add that here. Oops. Let's go back down to where we were. Developer Hub. Okay, and then we remixed a scene and added the blink controls. And then Avery did some live user testing.
Yes.
And so some of the feedback was she wants more interactive objects, and so do people on the stream as well.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to go inside the buildings. She liked moving around. Oh, and the other thing you said, Avery, was that you don't like when you're inside of the trains. Is that right? Yeah. She doesn't like being inside the vehicle. You don't want to. Is it you're scared of being crushed by them? Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Don't go back though. The stairs
That
are right
is
behind
smart.
you. Come toward my voice, so you don't have a live accident. I like moving around, but don't want to be hit by a train.
That is very smart.
Yeah. I don't know where the trains are. I'm not sure where you are in the scene. I can't see.
All right.
Can
Well,
you move toward me? Yeah, we might be at time, and I
Yes,
have to take
yeah.
on some fatherly duties here.
yes, you did great. I really appreciate your multitasking and Avery being one of our presenters. And thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, your daughter makes a good product owner. Yes, she does.
Yeah, Avery, you do a good job. Maybe
Yeah.
you should join us next time to help
Yes.
us decide what we should do.
Yes.
And the helicopter's still there. It's kind of just hovering without sound effects.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Michael. Thanks everyone for joining us. And it might take us a little bit more for a few weeks. Maybe we do the next one, but do let us know what you would like to see. And thanks for your questions. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Aishigal. Thank you,
Bye.
Avery.
Thank you, Avery. You're awesome.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.